Hey, right screen! How we doing tonight, Panda fam? We are back this evening, my buddy and I, with a little bit of Picard review series for you. Episode 3 came out today, and well, goddamn, I think we might finally be done with the exposition here in these last couple of episodes. I think the chessboard is laid out. The pieces
3D chess, no less.
3D chessboard's being laid out. The pieces are being set here, being placed, as Gandalf would say, a la Lord of the Rings. So yeah, we are making some moves. End of the episode was really kind of goosebumpy as well too, Panda fam. So super awesome. I'm joined tonight with my buddy Grant, who is a big time Star Trek fanatic fan. Live long and Panda. Anyway, so you see he's donning the Star Trek shirt for you tonight, Panda fam. These have been going for about an hour and a half, the last couple, so that's probably about how long this one's going to go today. An hour and a half, maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit shorter, so we'll see how this goes. Anyway, Panda fam, I hope you all are having a great Thursday. Pour yourself a nice cool beverage, strap in, and enjoy the show. Let's get into it. So, last week,
You have to take a drink.
oh well, anyway, we got our apple juice. We're ready to go. So, I'm gonna go ahead and get our little slideshow started here. Not get help with Blaine here, but I'm gonna go ahead and get the slideshow started. So, what we've been doing is we've been talking about these episodes, kind of scene by scene or bit by bit, explaining kind of our takes on them. So far, the two of us agree that the season is going well so far.
Oh yeah, I was excited but apprehensive when this was announced.
Likewise.
Because there is ample opportunity to screw it up. Is that the stream music?
It is.
Yeah.
So, down now. We're down now. We're good.
Yelling over the music.
Yell over the music! Alright, stream music's down, so...
Okay, yeah, but I was there's many places where this could go wrong. And so far, I am pleased.
Yes. I would have to agree with that. There have been a couple of little moments here and there that have been kind of head-scratching, but I think the overall season so far after 3 episodes, kind of sets the stage in episode 1. We get a lot of exposition in episode 2, and we're treated to that or not treated to that, depending on how you look at it, in episode 3 as well, too.
Yeah, I would say episode 1 is kind of world building and letting us know where we're at.
Yep.
And where our main characters are. Number 2, as you mentioned, just kind of more story elements, things that we're going to need down the road. And then finally we start to see some rising action in episode 3.
I would agree with that. And... I was curious about this show in particular in that it's 10 episodes instead of 8. So I feel like there may be some sort of mid-season, maybe could be like a finale or like a mid-season.
Kind of like to do on Walking Dead.
Yeah, kind of like something like that. I'm maybe not to that extreme, but I certainly hope here after this episode we've got another episode and then middle of the season. So
right, yeah, we're cooking with propane here.
Yeah, we are.
We're about a third of the way through.
Melissa says Trekkies. Yes. Yeah. So sorry. Yes. Ah. Anyway, so
this is like Nanu.
Nah. Scissor me timbers.
No, Mark and Mindy. Robin Williams.
I know, but that's
how we're scissoring.
That was in my head when you did that motion there. So don't mind me.
Sort of.
Yeah, just
scissored or something.
I'm in a mood today, man. I got my notes up here, man. You'll hear when we get to the scenes and whatnot, Panda fam. I'm in a bit of a feisty mood here today.
I like feisty.
Melissa says the shocker. See what I'm saying? We're good. So anyway, without further ado, we'll jump into the episode, and I was really pleased. We've got the first scene up there in the top right.
Shocker, don't rock her.
Top right corner. Oh my god. They make mention of Spock in this episode too, speaking of which. But anyway, in the top right corner there, we've got one of the very first scenes. Again, it's kind of your indication that we're in flashback mode here, if you couldn't tell by the next scene that I'm going to show you. So I think it's more or less just a real fast, like, hey, this is in the past, and what's about to happen is in the past, and...
We've got Mars burning, although it's still burning in current day, but...
Mars is a burning. That's the picture that I have up there now for you. Joseph, thank you for the like. Dylan, Brother Panda, thank you for the like. Joseph, thank you for the share on the stream.
The brother is here.
Appreciate that very much. So yeah, we've got this first scene of Mars essentially being blown up and burning. Cleven Allen Spielbunk. Sorry, I've got to say it like that every time, man. The guy's awesome. Guy's awesome. Thanks for the like on the stream, by the way, buddy. So yeah, we've got the first scene. They show the attack, the synth, betrayal and Mars burning, and then you get the fallout from that in the next scene here with Raffi and Picard. And I guess I was not incorrect in really saying last week that it this was it, man.
Not only not incorrect, you were spot on. You nailed it.
Which is actually funny because we talked about this last week about there has to be something more there that is pissing her off. And there was. There's a little bit something more, which to us, to the two of us, is kind of a big it's kind of a big character misrepresentation, and we'll get into that here in just a second. So he's talking about his plan. He's talking about Starfleet and how he's like, basically you have this plan, the revised, rescue mission.
Yeah, talking about the Romulan evacuation because the star's going nova. The synths have destroyed the fleet. Starfleet has decided to abandon the Romulan rescue mission.
Yes, at this point.
And Picard is like, what the fuck are you doing?
Basically, in so many words. He basically goes to Starfleet and says, you either accept this resolved or revised plan, or you accept my resignation.
Yeah.
And they're like, tendered, bitch. You're done. See ya. And he's like, I
wasn't thinking you were going to do that.
Thinking you were going to do that. So immediately, like, this scene right here is the two of them kind of talking about that interaction. And immediately after they, like...
Yeah, he walks out and tells her that I bluffed, they called it,
and I'm now no longer a member of Starfleet. Yeah. And then she gets a little ring-a-ding-ding on her communicator, and what is it, the CNC, she says? Is it the CNC?
Yeah, I'm not sure what that stands for, but it's the person who's in charge of all of Starfleet.
Yeah, apparently. So this person, this person with CNC, or the CNC, calls her in, and she knows. She sees the writing on the wall. She's like, great, you resign, and I get my ass fired. Perfect. And that's kind of the last little bit that you get, and then it cuts to...
Which, let's talk about that for a second.
Sure.
Because that doesn't make any sense to me either.
Sure, go ahead.
That's all I had to say. Why fire her?
No loose ends, maybe, at this point. Because in the next part of the stuff here, they flash forward to future time, and I'm thinking that the things that we hear in this particular part of the scene, where he's talking about, like, there's some, like, secret Romulan operative, and they can't do that without Starfleet.
Right, without Starfleet knowing about it.
Right, without Starfleet knowing about it. So I think Raffi got canned because she was with Picard, and maybe Starfleet feared that she knew too much. And
why not eliminate her as an asset?
As a way to silence her. Well, why not eliminate him until 20 years later?
Also true.
You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
Why not eliminate him also?
But make no sense.
He even says it too in this scene. He calls her the brains, and like she's able to see things that he can't see. And we're talking about Picard here, man. Like he's
the chief diplomat. He was very, in spite of the fact that he's a very great captain, a great leader, he was always very reliant on his crew.
True.
He was always saying, like, counselor, what do you feel?
Yeah, true. What do you feel here?
Yeah, because, like, he's not all observant. He's not Sherlock Holmes as much as, he would like to be. And he's Dixon Hill, and Data's Sherlock Holmes.
I think that's what makes him such a good captain, too, just in general, is the fact that he not only, like, when he needs to, like, he can... when he needs to, he can be like, all right, I'm putting my foot down, and I'm about to, like, handle this myself. But most of the time, like
About to go Captain Picard all over your ass.
But most of the time, he defers to the knowledge of his crew members because, I mean, you can theorize and speculate as to why. It's just because he's a good, he's just good for relying on his crew like that all the time. And this is what he's doing here in this scene: is he's relying on Rafi's intelligence. She talks to him about this moment. This is where she mentions not even a goodbye, not even checking up on me, not even
yeah, this is...
Dude, what the hell? 18, 20 years, man.
Yeah, this is where we discussed earlier that we have our problem with the writing.
Thanks for Ginge. Appreciate it, buddy.
There is no way you could convince me that Picard would tender his resignation and anyone who was under his command goes down with him and he doesn't do anything in his power, everything in his power, to make sure that that person lands as softly as possible and is taken care of as best as he can. So he's got Rafi, who is his number one on the Verity, right?
Right.
And he doesn't check up on anything her after this scene right here where she gets shit canned. But meanwhile, these two former Tal Shiar operatives come and live with him on the vineyard?
Yeah.
What?
It's very suspect as far as character writing and whatnot are concerned, and yeah, I hope there's some sort of explanation for this, as they're traveling together over the next couple of episodes. But at the outset,
I just don't see it.
Yeah, at the outset, and I mean at the outset too. He doesn't really do anything to explain it. I mean, she doesn't really give him a chance, but he doesn't really do anything to explain it in the scene. So it's that's what he was doing the entire scene.
Good. He's like, Romulus, blah, 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 blah.
Which is a little bit deeper into the character of Picard, in my opinion, is I don't think he'd ever be caught like that either.
No.
Tongue-tied like that. He'd have
he's a chief diplomat.
He'd have an explanation.
You can make the argument that he feels bad about it, but then, of course, he should feel bad about it. And also, why? Why did this happen, even to begin with, when that's not anything that Picard would ever do?
Right. So they're going back and forth talking about, this particular thing, and he needs a ship and a captain, and I don't know, this if there was any part in this episode that I felt disappointed with, it was this particular relationship between the two of them, because you got the comics, you got all this build up and this stuff that's this character Rafi was his second number one, and we all know who Riker
knows him well enough to call him JL.
She knows him well enough to call him, and still calls him JL throughout the episode, but knows him well enough to call him JL. They're talking about this plan, and even she mentions it at that point. I think he kind of took her for crazy at that point. Why would No, this is...
She's doing the drugs.
Yeah, she's on the whatever... The snake leaf or whatever the hell it is she's smoking throughout the episode. So, and she even admits it herself. She's like, some hallucinogenic trips on the snake leaf stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, just having yourself a good old time.
Getting on it.
Out there
living in this hovel in the desert.
Out there in Vasquez Canyon or wherever it is that she lives in. They mentioned it in the episode, but I didn't clip it, unfortunately. So yeah, anyway, to not beat a dead horse here, this was the one part of the episode that I felt was lazily written or glazed over or rushed.
Mm-hmm. All of the above.
So anyway, we'll
own it. And we came to that conclusion separately.
I hope it gets extrapolated on a little bit later, but I was really, really hoping to get some more information on it.
Well, so far with all of the episodes, they've started with a bit of flashback.
That's true. That's a good point you bring up.
So we might see more. I don't know. But, they explained that, he didn't call, didn't write, didn't, fart in a jar and send it to her.
Right,
Nothing.
Exactly. Nothing. Which is very uncharacteristic for Picard.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we go from this scene to the Borg cube again, and this is basically, for all of you old TNG fans, this is our pal and Borg friend, Hugh. His very first... his debut in the new show. So.
The Hugh debut.
It's the Hugh debut, baby. Anyway, so and I gotta admit, man, when I was watching this episode, throughout it, and we'll come back to this scene in particular, but he seems very Bond villain-esque. He's kind of got that, well, you're an Odo, aren't you? well, he's got that.
There's a weird vibe to him.
There's a weird vibe coming from Hugh.
His character arc in Next Generation was a strange one.
Well, he was the one, like, individual Borg or whatever it was.
There's an episode called Borg, which is him, and he is separated from the collective. And they have him on board the ship, and so they just kind of start talking to him and introduce him to the concept of individuality.
Yep.
He gets his name Hugh because, like, they're saying, like, you.
You, and he's like, Hugh.
Yeah, it's like, all right, well, that's what we'll call him. And so, and he's, like, super chill and whatever, but they introduce him to the sense of individuality, but then they, like, release him back to the collective. And he basically, with his sense of individuality that he's regained, even though he's separate from the hive mind, when he's reintroduced to the hive, it, like, ruins them. Yeah. And then, so they're kind of, like, wandering around, like, lost in space because the collective cut them off on this particular cube. And then...
Do you think this is that particular cube?
No, and here's why. Because there's a 2-part episode later on in the show called Descent, and it deals with lore. It's actually the last episode where, like, they deactivate
right,
lore.
where he gets the Borg, like the Borg army or whatever it is.
And that's this cube, and so like they're kind of like wandering around, and they find Lore, and Lore's like, "Well, I'll help you out," and then he turns out to be Lore. So, and then like at the end of the episode, like the crew's getting ready to leave, and he was like, "Yo, like we got all these Borg, and we don't really have a leader." Picard's like, "I don't think that's true. Want to beam up?" Like, no shit, that's what happens. Implying that he was to be the leader, but like, then that's the last we see of them until right now.
So, what happens to Hugh? First and foremost, hey, Lady Panda, thank you for.
Oh, he's also still Borgified when all this happens.
Yeah, so there's a lot of explaining to do when it comes to Hugh. In my opinion.
I'm sure a lot of that like flashback exposition you get at the beginning of the episode is probably going to revolve around him. Maybe 7 of 9, maybe other things that we haven't seen yet.
Here's the thing. To that point, too, I'm glad you pointed that out. We haven't seen 7 of 9 yet.
Nope.
We've also not seen Riker yet.
Riker and Troy, yeah.
And Troy.
Uh-huh.
And we're 3 episodes in. I mean, when are we going to get these? I think...
Yeah, not only do we have to see 7 of 9, we have to have her have a conversation with Jean-Luc in what looked like his chateau. I don't know.
That might be next episode, because if you saw the previews... Raffi and Picard are talking very briefly at like this desk that looks very similar to the desk from the trailer. So it very well might be. And remember, in the trailer, she's like, "What the hell are you doing all the way out here? Trying to save the universe?" And he's like, he's pouring his beverage and everything. And
yeah, I love. Yeah, I assumed it was the chateau, but it must not be.
It's, I think, something different.
Well, it's kind of funny.
They did a good job of misdirecting with that. I thought it was the chateau too.
Yeah. So, and the funny thing, and there's like memes about this where it's like, I don't particularly form this as 7 of 9, like as her 7 of 9 in Voyager. She's like, like, human customs escape me, but I believe that a greeting is customary, so, hello. And then it's like 2020. Jean-Luc, you hornswoggling son of a bitch, how the fuck are you? I haven't seen you in a long time. The fuck you doing all the way the fuck out here? Because it's
been 20 years.
Yeah, that was character development. I get it. It's fine.
It's been 20 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's.
And then we get to watch her shoot up that bar.
I'm excited to see her character back in the Star Trek series. I know everybody like.
Also, my middle school self had a massive crush on Jerry Ryan.
You sure did. You sure did. You son of a bitch. Anyway, so...
And then I taught in what was her ex-husband's classroom.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. You did do that, didn't you?
Yeah, he had since been retired and politicked and then unpoliticked. And then somebody else had taken over, and like all the decorations in there were from him.
Oh, really?
I was like, oh, Jerry,
nice.
Jerry probably touched these.
Oh, you savage. Anyway, so... Back on the Borg ship here. The thing about Hugh in this episode that I need to know more about, I hope they explain a little bit more about this in the coming episodes. First of all, how did he go from that episode in TNG to where he is now? Because he's deborgified. He's commanding this portion of the Borg reassimilation or unassimilation or desimilation or whatever you want to call it.
He's got fantastic hair.
He's got wonderful hair. And yeah, I mean, here's the thing with Hugh. He seems to be the most in tune, other than obviously Narek and his sister, with what's going on with Soji or who she might actually be.
You think so?
I do, because he questions her about it throughout the entire episode. Specifically here, which is why I posted this particular picture where he's looking at the video capture of he's looking at the video capture of her speaking to this unknown or nameless, as they call them, dissimilated Borg in their own tongue. And he's like, how did you know how to do that?
Yeah, we don't know who these people are.
Don't know who these people are.
And she's like, well, you said that we should try talking to them in their native tongue. He's like, yeah, but...
something about declassified. She read all through the declassified files, and it must have been in there somewhere, and blah, 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 blah. So, oh, I liked my own stream. I guarantee that's a moderator right now. We'll figure out who it is after they come in and comment, or they share on the stream. But thank you for the like. I appreciate it, whomever you may be. Whoever you may be.
Well, it's not me.
No, it's not you. Not me either, so.
Who does that leave?
Could be Scotty, could be Daniel, could be...
Oh, you've got quite a few, eh?
Ed, could be... my brother already came in and liked. Anyway, Daniel, that's who it is. Daniel, thank you for the like on the stream. He says, hello, fellow pandas. Don't forget to smash that like and share button, Panda Fam, if you guys are enjoying this sort of stuff.
Don't simply press it.
Smash the shit out of it. Like, I want to see poo coming out of the button that you're smashing. That's how hard I want you to smash it.
Kind of like I cleaned up off the stairs earlier.
Yeah, we got a lot of dogs here today, guys. My buddy here brought his 2 puppers with him, and there's 4 dogs in this house, and it is madness. It is madness, pandas.
Although, it's been relatively quiet.
Because Lady Panda's down there keeping busy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so he was, back to the episode, he was questioning her pretty much throughout the episode as to, like, how do you know these things? Like giving her that kind of like, I know,
like side eye.
Like, well, yeah, what do you, like, how do you know all this stuff? Daniel, thank you for the 4 share bomb, man. Appreciate that very, very much. So yeah, it's something that we'll come back to a little bit later in the episode, because he and her have some interactions throughout this episode, specifically one that's coming up really soon here. So, back to Raffi and Picard's interaction on her ranch or trailer or whatever the hell it is you want to call it that she's living on. Hovel. That's what she calls it, basically. And this is the point where, you know, she tells him, like, basically go yourself, but I got a pilot for you.
Yeah.
And his name is Rios. His name is
Han Solo. We'll explain in a minute.
Here. But anyway, so Raffi has this guy for JL. She keeps calling him JL. That's, you know, they're on that kind of name basis, I guess. Nobody else calls him JL. Even Jean-Luc. In the entire frickin' show. Except for Riker, like, once, when he was being all queued up with the Q continuum
Every
stuff.
once in a while he does. Of course, Beverly will when it's just the 2 of them.
Right. But
she'll never, more than anybody.
She'll never break it but in front of anybody else. Unless it's like Troy or like...
Depends on where they are. If they're on the bridge, if they're on duty. It's
right. It's...
Caroline.
Yeah.
Picard.
Yeah. Exactly. So anyway, this whole scene serves to basically move us forward and let us know that Raffi got us a pilot. Got Jean-Luc a pilot. And his name is Rios Solo. Ran the Kessel Run in 14 parsecs. This particular scene is a very quick one, but a very important one, because I feel like it plays into stuff that happens later in the episode. Obviously, it directly plays a part in something that happens later in the episode, but I think it plays a part in something that... I think it subtly plays a part in something that happens later on, and we'll touch on this. But this is a very important scene in that. I know this isn't related to your stream, but I'd like to share the massive deal I got on Borderlands. $50 for the Super Deluxe Edition.
Super duper fantastic
Jesus
deluxe
Christ.
mother.
I'm pretty sure I paid $100 for that when the game came out. So
£50.
that's an awesome deal.
Was that about $70?
I think so. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's an awesome deal, Daniel. I'm really glad you got that for as cheaply as you did, man. Congrats. So anyway, back to this particular scene. This is Dr. Jurati and Commander O-Face from the Star... Commander O. Commander.
Commodore O-Face.
Commodore O-Face. Commodore O is her name.
Her name's Commodore O. She will henceforth be known as Commodore O-Face.
Because I don't like her ass, man. So she's gonna be Commodore O-Face.
You're not supposed to.
Yeah, I know you're not supposed to. It's very clear by the last episode that she has her hands directly in these Romulan assassinations, and she knows what's going on. A la the conversation with Rizzo, Narek's sister, that we find out last episode. But anyway, so her and Dr. Jurati, or Newsroom Lady, as I like to call her, have a nice little conversation about the conversation that Jurati had with Picard about the synths. And that's all you get. And end scene. But I think it's very important to note that this scene happens before the scene that this will connect to later on in the episode. So, this is pretty much back to the Borg ship. Now, we don't get, like you astutely pointed out, we don't get much exposition on the Borg ship this episode.
No, there's little quick. So both the last episode and this episode have just hopped back and forth between Picard and the ship.
Like every scene was like bing, bing, bing,
every
bing,
other,
bing.
every other. When you have the tiny little ones like the last one peppered in there, but they're not substantial.
Right.
Right. It's
You
just
talk
been
about
back
this
and
one?
forth. Yeah. So I was referencing. We're bouncing back and forth pretty much, and then it'll tie up with a nice little bow at the end of this episode.
It will, actually.
All the bouncing.
All the bouncing ties up really, really nicely at the end of this episode, I think. And this is why I say at the beginning of this review here tonight, I feel like the stage is set, the pieces the pieces may not be set, but they're moving.
Table set, it's time to bring out the food and eat.
Exactly. So anyway, this particular scene is Hugh kind of, waving his command around a little bit.
Is that what he nicknamed it?
Yeah, his command. I didn't want to say what I wanted to say, so I said his command around.
Oh, that was a euphemism.
It was, yes.
Oh, all right.
That's what I was going for, and you picked right up on it. Thank you, Kayla, for the like on the stream, by the way. So anyway, Hugh comes up to this dude who's like, I don't know, they've got these disjointeds, or what do they call? What do they actually call them? They're called disorders. That's what they're called. All these Romulans who have been de-assimilated, and they're all kind of in the same area, being protected by other...
There were only a few assimilated Romulans ever anyway.
Right.
And it happened right at the end. I think they said it was the last ship that this Borg cube assimilated.
We'll get to that in just a second. Just a second. You're fine. You're fine. I know. I'm excited too, because it's a very interesting scene that happens here shortly. But you're right. Like very, very few Romulans were assimilated. All of the ones that I think that you're referencing, this last ship and all the stuff that we'll come to here soon, I think all of them are all of the ones that we see in the scene coming up.
Yeah. I think they make mention of that.
And we get the mention of this character Ramda, who is supposedly one of the premier illustrious Romulan mythology, ancient historians. She documents their history, so it's almost like an important thing for Soji, who's the sister, for Soji to go and talk to her and kind of find out what the hell, tell me about anything that you know, about the Romulans, whatever. So as far as that's concerned. So we've got Hugh here basically asserting himself, allowing or getting Soji in to go talk to Ramda. This one dude at the security thing's like, no, man, I don't want to let you in. And then Hugh's like, you're going to let me in, bro. And that's the thing that we're talking about here, too, is how did Hugh get into such a position of power and command? I mean, it's been 20 years, but still,
there's that aspect of it, though. And this is owned by the Romulans, right?
The reclamation sites, they call it.
The artifact is owned by the Romulans, but Hugh, a former Borg who was never a Romulan, has, like you said, a very good amount of pull here. So that's kind of an interesting thing also.
Yeah, exactly. That he has pull over the Romulans. For all intents and purposes, we don't know really, I think, what Hugh is. Human, I assume. Assume that he's human? He looks human enough. Yeah. I mean, but there have been other human-looking races in Star Trek. So that's an interesting thing maybe to maybe we'll get confirmation on what he actually is too in the future here. So we hear about this Romulan, not storyteller, but like history taker, historian named Ramda, and that's what Soji's trying to do. Is she's trying to get in to go talk to her.
What does she want to talk to her about?
I think she just wants to talk to her about like Romulan history, and then she finds out, like, when she's questioning her, that the Shi'Nor and the last Romulan ship, and that's what we'll talk about here.
Okay.
In the next, I know you want to talk about this,
yeah,
so
I'm
go
excited
ahead,
about
man.
this.
Go ahead.
Well, no, so like she comes and says, I think Soji says that these are the only Romulans who were ever assimilated. They were on a ship together. They were cruising along. This Borg cube
Ran up on them.
yeah, and started assimilating them. And then they make mention of the fact that this is the last ship that this cube ever assimilated.
Yep.
So somehow they're able to stop it after that point.
Correct.
But we still have yet to figure out how or why. Now, interestingly enough, there's a little tidbit for you.
Yeah.
In the best of both worlds, right in the beginning, Enterprise encounters that Borg cube, gets jacked up.
Oh, wow.
They've got to stop and do repairs. Meanwhile, the fleet is gathering at Wolf 359 to fight this Borg cube off.
Right.
And of course, we all know that the cube pulverizes the entire
fleet, yes.
including who was supposed to be Riker's command.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah.
And he's like, they pan to him, like when they see
"Melt."
the mouth burning. It's
Yeah.
Riker's face. He's like,
Yeah.
like if I had taken that command,
I'd have been floating in pieces in space. But when Picard calls Starfleet to say that, or I guess no, it'd be Riker called Starfleet because Picard was already taken.
Right, he was taken at this point.
Yeah. He was like, the Enterprise will be late, but she'll be there. Yeah. Got the whole fleet coming together. Hell, we've even thought of opening up communications with the Romulans. He makes mention of it. So the fact that none were assimilated there tells you that A, communications weren't opened up, or B, the Romulans told the Federation to get bent.
Pretty much. Which then makes you wonder if I think these events then took place, was it after TNG? The whole Shi'Nor being assimilated and everything then?
I'm assuming so.
I would assume
we would have
so,
heard about
too.
a Borg cube getting jacked up. Maybe.
Anyway, so they have their conversation, or she ends up going in and meets this lady Ramda, who's messing around with some tarot card looking things. And
Yeah, that's exactly what they are, basically.
all in like this
Romulan tarot cards.
Romulan tarot cards, or whatever the hell it is that she's doing, reading futures and the news, or whatever it is that they call
She
it.
calls it the news, but yeah.
They don't call it their mythology. It's like they don't have a word for it.
Don't have a word for it, Romulan.
Mythology's not the right one. It sucks.
It sucks. And she's like, "What do you call it then?" And they're like, "Oh, the news."
Oh, hey, Jackie Bartolotta.
Oh, that's very cool. That's fantastic. Oh, so, all right. So yeah, they end up meeting this lady Ramda, who is like this highly renowned Romulan historian, and she starts having a conversation with her. And I'm pretty sure we cut to another scene, yes, before we get to like the fruition of that conversation. So this is back on Maddox's hovel.
Rockies?
I'm sorry. I'm revealing something by that. My bad. Rafi's hovel. And this is a quick picture of Picard like communicating with her, and he's like, "I assume you're doing research," and she's like, "Oh man."
Oh yeah.
And he's
this
like,
is great. This whole
"Here's all the information. Carry on."
Yeah.
He just dips out, man. And she's just like,
that was hilarious.
"What the? Like, come on, man. How does he know me?"
He's like, "Sure you're not.
"Sure you're not. Here's
Hungry little fella.
Hungry
There
little
you go.
fellow. Here's a little treat for you. And bye-bye. Carry on." So yeah, it's a really funny little interaction between him and her, where I think he's just trying to get off the phone with her as fast as possible.
No, because he doesn't want to give a reason to be pissed off. So he's just like, want some shit? Here it is. Bye.
Let me make you happy. Bye. See ya. Yep, doing research. Bye. All right. So yeah, she's doing this research, and she finds something in this wrong picture. She finds something in this research. It's like that little, I don't know what the code is, but then all of a sudden she like clicks on it, and then it's like boom, free cloud. And she's like, that son of a bitch. And we can only, well, we'll end up finding out for sure by the end of the episode, but we can only assume that she is looking for Maddox at this point, and it's very possible he's in this place called Free Cloud.
Free Cloud City.
Free Cloud City. See, we're getting a lot of Star Wars references.
Yeah. Well, it's about to get thick.
It's about to get massive. So, awesome scene in the next scene. We get Picard beaming up, teleporting into his new ship with Captain Rios. This is his first meeting with Rios. And you get like the nice music overture, the old school, like, like that.
Yeah,
really
it's like a theme and variation on it.
Theme and variation, and little goosebumps when you watch that, and you're like, oh yes, Patrick Stewart.
Gotta kind of clear a little tear from the eye.
Patrick Stewart's back on the bridge of a ship here. Holy shit!
So, and we discussed this a little bit pre-theme too. The man who writes the score for this series, give him awards, all of them, as many as you can.
Yeah,
it's phenomenal. It's fantastic. Like I can't fathom how anybody would not like this show if you're a Star Trek fan. But even people that don't like this show love the score.
Yeah. Yep. The intro's grown on me a lot. The score in this particular episode was beautiful, as it has been in every other episode. But I thought this one was really good, hitting on the nostalgia chords right at the perfect time. And you'll see at the end of the episode
Magnifique.
too exactly what I mean by that. But here especially, just kind of from an ambiance standpoint, this was very pomp and circumstance, but very subtle pomp and circumstance. You know what I mean?
Fauché.
So we get the meeting between Rio Solo and
yeah. So let me tell you how this meeting goes.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Picard's like, you have a ship? Like, passed the ship around, made the castle run in 13 parsecs. He's like, do you have any cargo? And he's just me and these two droids. And he says, well, what are we trying to do? He's like, let's just say we'd like to avoid any Imperial entanglements. And then Rios is like, well, that'll cost you.
This is pretty much
like, this bucket of bolts? No. Picard's like, actually, this ship's pretty well maintained. This is where it departs.
Yeah,
it's like this ship's pretty well maintained. He's like, you smell like Starfleet. Everything's maintained and stowed according to regulation.
There's some really good character development here, though, too.
Oh, and by the way, you can see in his shoulder that there's a giant piece of shrapnel sticking out of it.
Tritanium, he says. It's like tritanium metal.
I thought he said...
Get this piece of tritanium out of my shoulder.
No, it's...
That's what he said it was. It's tritanium.
No.
It's tritanium.
No. It's, why am I blanking on it?
I don't know.
It's an element. It's a real element.
It's tritanium.
No.
That's what he says. I guarantee it. Guarantee you it's tritanium.
No. It's whatever the ship is made out of.
Titanium. I'm positive it's tritanium, man. Like I watched that particular scene. I'm positive it's tritanium. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's like, well, I would recommend getting this piece of tritanium out of my shoulder for like, as the holograms like giving him the medical like hullabaloo or whatever, and he's like you don't need that thing, man. Just pull this shit out of my shoulder, basically. Like they do a good job of painting him as like this titular badass, like Picard meets, and then Picard has this conversation with him, and he's like, this ship's immaculate, like you reek of Starfleet, like I can smell it on you, like but then he goes about talking about like Picard mentions that he's an XO on some like freighter or some cruiser or something, and he calls it, I have it here, it's called the Ibn Majid or whatever, and Rios makes mention, that's the captain's name, this new captain, Han Rios, we'll call him. Rios makes mention of how he's like, oh, you've never heard of it? Probably because it's been stricken from the records.
Right.
And Picard's like, oh, do I catch a hint of Starfleet, like some hatred for Starfleet in there? And he's just like, yeah, whatever, man. Like, the old Han Solo, like, just shut up, old man. Like, get out of my face. But there's a little bit of character development after this, and I didn't clip this picture from this particular scene. Suffice to say that his holograph comes into his room after this.
Yeah, it's his EMH, emergency medical hologram.
Yeah, EMH, emergency medical hologram. Yes, thank you. So he comes into his room and he's like, there's no more emergencies, so I'm not sure what you're doing here. And he's talking to him about Picard and helping him out, and you haven't helped anybody out like him in a long time. And you get a little bit of background into Rios's character when he mentions that he's like, I'm not going to watch like as my captain's like brains are splattered across the bridge, basically. And like, then he like disables the hologram and like pumps on his stogie and reads his book for like the last like 10 seconds of the scene. So some really good character development there with Rios. You know, the troubled pilot with the, you know, he's lives on the edge, but it's, you know, he's got his storied background with Starfleet, and it was some super tragic event with his ex-captain that like makes him not want to ever like be involved with it ever.
Oh yeah, again. He's like, I already had one legend captain with his blood and guts all over the place. I don't want another one.
Right, exactly. So we get that little bit of character development from Rios there in that particular scene. Look it up, man. I'm telling you, it's Tritanium.
I'm starting to think that you're right, but I'm thinking of something else. But he probably does say Tritanium. I bet you're right. I
thought it was Titanium when I first watched the episode, and then I watched it again as I was clipping through this. And I'm like a 99.9% sure.
We'll go with
Titanium, so we'll go with it.
I acquiesce.
All right. So back to this particular scene. This is where Rafi finds her particular little Easter egg here, and I think it's at this point. I don't know if it was you or if you felt this way at this point, but I sure did. And I know I've been throwing this term around the last couple of weeks inaccurately, the term MacGuffin.
Yes,
but I think we found our MacGuffin in this show.
Yeah, it's definitely
Maddox.
Mm-hmm. No
Absolutely.
question. Absolutely.
Because now what we're doing is she's found that Maddox is in Free Cloud, essentially. Rafi has.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll eventually come back to that here by the end of the episode, but it's very clear like where this is heading to. Like either Picard's gonna go find the sister first, or this doctor first, because he's got Jurati with him, he's got Rafi with him, but he's also like, so at this point in the episode, you're asking yourself, okay, is it going to be Maddox or is it going to be the sister first? And we get our answer by the end of the episode, which is what compels me to believe that Maddox is our MacGuffin.
Yep.
See, and there's a picture of her. Oh, Free Cloud, Free Cloud, Free Cloud. It's just, here's the one thing too I wanted to quick mention out. It's not lost on me how long that this information's been hidden for in the show. 20 years. Maddox disappeared, like gone.
Yeah.
Daj and Soji, like they have interactions with each other, but nobody knows they exist until the scrubbers scrub too much and they cannot. They over scrub the scrub.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel in this scene with Rafi.
Well,
she's
nobody's
like,
really looked for the dude.
True. But she finds him in a day.
But she sees things.
Also,
there was a line.
True. They do explain that she can see things that others don't. So
they read a clever line of dialogue to explain it away, and there we go.
There we go. But anyway,
and the other thing too is there's a lot of story here and only 10 episodes to tell it.
True, but I also feel like 10 is more than the usual 8 that a lot of shows nowadays are getting.
Yeah.
So this episode 2 and 3, I don't think would be here, or not as much of it would be here if it was an 8-episode season.
I agree with that. But then it would feel rushed and undeveloped, and everybody crucified the Game of Thrones storytellers for that. So
Correct.
When they did it in 8.
And a lot of people are giving these 2 episodes a lot of shit for slowing down and being heavy in the exposition, and I think their approval's down. I haven't checked it recently, but like people are like, oh, everybody's losing massive interest in Picard, and it's like,
couple things.
Remember The Witcher, folks. That's all I can say. A show that came out very, very recently, like 2 months ago, and every critic that reviewed that show stopped either after the first episode or the first 4 and were like, this is garbage.
Yep.
And didn't watch the last 3 episodes.
Yeah. And it was phenomenal.
And it was phenomenal, yes.
And on top of that, too, have you seen Star Trek The Next Generation? Because it's all talk.
Yeah.
Like, there's hardly any action. They talk their way out of everything. And it's usually like shit until the last 5 minutes of the episode, which is when they just kind of up and fix everything by talking. So this is already like worlds better than that was, and I think people tend to forget.
I think, honestly, I think that's what a lot of original TNG fans is, like purists. What their big issue is with this particular show is, one, it doesn't deal with things on an episode to episode basis,
Which is great.
which is awesome.
I like a story arc.
I love the thread that pulls through this entire
and that's
season.
what I liked about Deep Space Nine is when they introduced like the Dominion War and the Jem'Hadar and everything like that. You had a story arc, but they would pepper in other like exploratory traditional Star Trek episodes, and they sucked. I didn't want anything to do with them. I wanted to know what was going on in the Jem'Hadar, and those were there to please the purists, but they don't have the episodes to do that with.
If Star Trek were an anime, those would be your filler episodes.
Hell yeah.
Like that's and if you looked at Star Trek: The Next Generation, the first, like the original, like through an anime lens, like it's all filler, man. Like and most of it's filler, and like some of the important episodes, like Farpoint Station, or I don't remember what it is. Any episode with Q.
There's even some Q ones that are just silly.
Yeah, they're just ridiculous. But a lot of the Q episodes are titular episodes that like really kind of hit on the point of what Star Trek is, like really going beyond and discovering, going what's the phrasing, to boldly go where nobody's gone before, and they even mentioned that in this particular episode with Rafi, the EMH or whatever. He's like the guy who was like the contact point for the Q continuum and the Borg defender against the Borg, and
he kind of gives a quick rundown
of
all the awesome shit that Picard's done.
Exactly. So it's
and that's when he's like, yep, and that guy that I had previously
was just as legendary.
Yeah,
maybe not.
He ended up exploded on me, so I ended up wearing him.
But anyway, back to we'll bring it back to the whole free cloud scene here with Rafi. Essentially, what this scene is she basically finds out that Maddox is indeed in free cloud, and we have pretty much our choice. Do we go for Soji or do we go to free cloud first? This was an awesome scene, and I wish I had caught it a little bit better, but right before this was the scene with Rios. Sorry, Han Rios. I didn't remember his name. Han Rios. It's the scene with Rios where he's talking to his EMH, and he looks up, and the scene ends with him looking up at the sky, and it segues to this particular scene with Picard and him with his little knapsack on, just kind of longingly looking at the stars. And you get a little like they've done a pretty decent job. As much exposition as there's been in these two episodes, they've done a really good job of putting scenes like this in there, and they're like, remember, this is gonna be like, remember, this guy is going back into space. He is gonna eventually become like, he's eventually gonna assume the mantle, or maybe he won't ever be a captain of a starship again like he was in TNG. And at
least not a Starfleet captain,
right? But I don't think he will. But that aura, that ambiance, that is Picard.
He said no uniforms when filming this. Yeah. But we've seen him in uniform a couple of times. Right. In the dream sequences and then with the flashbacks as well.
That's a good point.
So we've seen some uniform.
But
the idea is that Patrick Stewart doesn't want to be in a uniform, so we're not going to see him in charge of a starship.
It looks like in the next episode preview, we see him in uniform again when he's fencing against the Romulan.
Oh, I missed that.
It looked like the old Nemesis uniform. That'd be weird. We'll have to go back and watch it after we're done with the episode here with you guys, but that was interesting. But yeah, something to note: no uniforms. But yeah, this scene is awesome. It's probably the best scene in the entire show, or the entire episode, where he's looking longingly up at the stars, and Laris comes and talks to him. Aren't you gonna miss? I'll miss number one and the smell of the grapes and all that stuff, but I don't.
But not really.
I don't really think I ever felt at home here. Is kind of the main thing to take away from that.
Number one is the dog.
The number one is his dog that he has.
His pit bull.
Yes, calls it number one. Anyway, so the main thing to take away is that he's like, I don't think I've really ever Felt like I was at home here. And then Shaban comes out of nowhere with like some bread and some goodies for his trip or whatever, and then
For your haversack.
for your travel knapsack or whatever. And he's talking to Picard, and then all of a sudden, Pachoo! They went for the alarm. They took out the alarms, and boom! Like all of a sudden, attack on Chateau Picard.
Yeah,
man.
all of a sudden there's disruptor fire, and they're like, and then Zabit's like, get him out of here.
Yeah,
and then
Shaban's like, go get him out of here. There's a quick picture of the two of them, Laris and Picard, talking before. Oh crap! I couldn't get a picture of that.
Oh.
Action scenes are really hard to clip.
Yeah. So there's a big action scene.
Big time.
Romulans come in. Picard's got guns stashed everywhere in his house. They're in like every single nightstand. They're duct taped to every single table. They're all everywhere. And so like this is when you see Zhaban and what's the girl?
Laris. Sorry, I'll put my
like you
notes over
see
here
their
for you, too.
their Tal Shiar training.
That was
like
badass.
come alive.
And all of a sudden, as that happened, I'm just like, yes, we get to see Laris and Shaban be badasses.
Yeah, and so they're like, whoa, and they're like shooting these, Romulan agents that are coming in. Like one of the Romulan agents got Picard like kind of pushed up against the table, about to
strangle him or
violate
something.
him, and then Picard reaches under the table because they got guns everywhere.
Guns everywhere in Chateau Picard, man. He's just like,
this guy in the fucking face.
dude, it was awesome. It was the best scene in the episode for sure.
No question.
For sure. You get to see Laris and Shaban actually use their Tal Shiar training in action, even though they haven't done it probably for years. Like they just snap
Stuff
right
doesn't
back.
just leave you.
They just snap right back into that. Tom, thank you. Thank you for the like on the stream, Tom. Thanks for the Panda Life sticker too, buddy. To see it tonight, man. Hope you're enjoying yourself. Panda Life. Anyway, so you get to see their training in action, which is badass. And then the other interesting thing here too, like at the very end of this scene, they get saved by newsroom lady, Dr. Jurati.
Oh yeah. So they're kind of like looking over all of the Romulans, right?
And some dude that they didn't account for comes out of the corner
and gets blasted in the back.
Blasted by Allison Pill, Dr. Jurati, man, newsroom lady. She comes in and she's
the
like...
android scientist, by the way, who's got no military training whatsoever.
From the Daystrom.
Yeah, from the Daystrom Institute.
Whatever. Well, I think that's evident by the fact that she's like, it's set to stun. And
it's like, hopefully it was set to stun.
And Lars is like,
Romulan disruptors don't have stun.
Don't have stun. You just killed his ass. So, and you can tell she's pretty visibly shaken up by the whole incident.
She done shook.
But they're able to get
take one of them alive,
and tie him up. Exactly. And this is where you're talking about a little bit earlier in our review here of the juxtaposition of Borg Cube and Chateau.
Bingo.
And I will let you talk about that as we go to the next scene here where we go
so
back.
They have this and then they have the interrogation. Okay.
It's back and forth pretty much at this point. For a reason.
Toggles, yeah.
For a reason.
So you're here on the Borg cube, and every time we go to the cube, in my head I hear like dum 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 dum,
like the Shredder music from the Turtles or whatever. What's that?
Mako reactor.
Oh, okay, got you. See, I thought you were going for like the Shredder.
I did watch that the other night, though.
Turtles. It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix, yeah.
In case you guys want to watch the Turtles, it's on Netflix. Like the old 1984 version.
1990.
1990. That's right. I was like 5 when it came out. Yeah. So yeah.
No, Daniela was over, and she's like, "What do you want to watch?" And she was like yelling some stuff to me from the other room, and she's like, "Do you want to watch Turtles?" And I was like, "Yup."
I've seen that next. I've been scrolling through on Netflix, and my clicker has stopped on that for like 10 seconds a few different times, and I'm like, maybe tomorrow I'll watch it. Maybe tomorrow. But
I watched it last week. It was great.
I do. Anyway,
Turtles 2 is next, which is also on there. Secret of the Ooze, get some Vanilla Ice action.
Hell yeah, man. Yo, it's the new
Green Machine, gonna rock the town without being seen. Have you ever seen a turtle get down?
Down.
Slamming the jam to the new swing sound. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Everybody let's move. Vanilla is here.
Copyrighted.
We're gonna rock and roll the place with the power of the Ninja Turtle bass.
Oh
Ice
my
Man,
god.
you know not playing.
Justin, thank you for the like on
the
the stream,
turtles
buddy.
are saying.
That was awesome.
Ninja,
rock.
rap.
I always thought it was rock.
No, it's rap. Ninja
It
rap.
makes sense that it's
The
rap.
name of the song is Ninja Rap.
I always thought it was Ninja Rock.
You should read
I'm an
the
idiot.
name of the song.
Well, just out of myself as an idiot on stream. Anyway,
That's okay.
back to our meeting between
We all have
Soji,
idiot moments.
between Soji and Zaban.
Our viewer count went up when I was rapping. So
That's
good.
awesome. Good job, buddy. Keep rapping. Maybe you should rap this entire review. That'd be awesome. I don't know how you would make that up.
No, it'd be horrible.
That'd be really hard.
They'd all leave.
That'd be really hard. Improv raps, props to you guys. Like, for those of you who can just spit lines without any kind of, like, thing written down.
For real,
There's
though.
no way I can do that, ever. Anyway, so we find out through this conversation with Soji and Ramda that this is the part where we find out the Shaynor.
Oh, yeah. Back to the Star Trek.
Back to the
Yeah,
start.
so she's like telling the news or whatever, which is like the tarot cards, and she comes up with
1990.
one.
I was making babies. No time for Teenage Mutant Ninja
Making babies.
Turtles.
Listen, we're no spring chickens, and he was 5 and I was 6 in 1990.
That's true.
So they telling the news, and she gets this card called the Sisters, and there's like one blue and one red one on there, and then she's like, "I know you.
I know you.
I know you."
I know you.
He's like, "Well, which one are you? The one who lives or the one who dies?"
I know you from tomorrow.
Yeah, from
is what she
tomorrow.
says.
Yeah. But she's like, "Are you the one who lives or the one who dies?" And we know that one of them's not doing so hot right now, so she's the one who lives. It's bad news. And then
Apparently.
yeah. So then, like, the girl like jumps up, grabs a disruptor off of one of the nearby Romulans who are standing there.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And she points it at her, and then points it at her head. And this is when
Here's an interesting juxtaposition here that I just thought of with that.
I think I know where you're going.
The
Continue.
synths?
Yes.
Do you have a thought on that, or
I mean, I made the connection only when you said I thought of something.
the synths? Because she was about to shoot her, and then all of a sudden she was just like, And the thing about this part in particular, and the fact that they're these disordered or disjointed, whatever they call these Romulan. From everything I've gathered, they're all Romulans from that last ship.
Yeah.
They're all connected on that last ship. They were all connected in the Borg Collective. And then when this whole
Because they weren't in for very long, apparently.
yeah, when this whole scene happens, like, and after like Soji stops Ramda from basically offing herself by like zipping over there with her synth abilities real quick. They do a very like they go painfully out of their way to make the camera work look so that she's like moving fast.
Although it wasn't like
I was
dodge fast.
-6 in 1990. I was 5 in 1990, so
Yeah. But it wasn't
that
dodge
wasn't
fast.
dodge fast.
'Cause
So she's probably
not been activated yet.
activated or whatever it is, yeah. But she could very slowly be activating. Like Dodge's was like because hers I think
a hair
was
trigger survival.
a hair trigger survival sort of thing, whereas hers is more of a like an information gathering sort of thing.
Right. Yeah.
But it's very interesting to see the parallels between the synths basically wrecking everybody, on Planitia Utopia, and then Utopia Planitia. Thank you. And then to see this particular lady who literally just pointed her gun at Soji and basically called her the Destroyer,
Yeah.
and then point the gun at herself like she was about to kill herself.
And then Soji disarms her. Cut back to Chateau Picard.
Sandy, what's up? Thank you for the like on the stream.
It's true, Sandy.
Mm-hmm. And then you cut back to Picard. I'm wondering if did I get these?
You did. Yeah. So then
Okay,
they've got the Romulan all tied up, and they're questioning him.
Yep. And that's this guy right here that you see in this scene. This is the Romulan that's tied up. And it's another interesting juxtaposition here when Jaban... I just think that they're subtly putting little cinematic things in here, too, that need to be picked up on. Jaban, they're talking, or him and Picard and Alison Pill are talking, after she freaks out and shoots the Romulan or whatever. And then, they tie him up, and Picard and Alison Pill are... Oh, and here's the scene with Ramda, and she's like, "You're the Destroyer!"
Yeah, because they keep jumping back and forth.
They keep jumping back
They
and
say
forth
the
right
Destroyer
here.
at basically the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're like Soji's talking to Ramda on this board cube, and Picard and Laris and Jaban are interrogating this what appears to be Zhat Vash.
Yeah.
Which is like an even more deep like section of the Tal Shiar, from what I understand.
Yeah, I just made a connection.
Yeah, go ahead.
Shocker.
Yeah.
Spocker.
Yeah.
Destroyer.
Sure, yeah.
I didn't make this up.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Oh my god. Sorry.
You see?
Too much.
You see how
it all comes full circle there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, man.
Props to whoever set that up for us at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, really.
By talking about the Shocker.
Yeah, really. Thank you. Appreciate it. Anyway, so we're you know, they're going back and forth talking about how she's the destroyer, and
yeah, so they're questioning the Romulan. He's not really answering questions, and then like he has one of those like acid pill capsules.
By the way, that's not their freaking blood for anybody out there who's like, oh, I guess Romulans bleed acid blood like the aliens now. No. He clearly bites on something and spits it on Jaban.
Yeah.
And then melts.
Yeah. And then
and then proceeds to just disappear into nothingness.
Yeah, like Thanos snapped and all of a sudden he starts like floating away.
Dead.
Yeah, and then Zaban's able to get his jacket off real quick as it's disintegrating so that he doesn't burn up like Daj did.
Yeah, exactly. And the other 180 here that I want to mention is, as Picard is talking to Dr. Jurati after she aces dude with the disruptor and she's clearly shaken up and they've tied up the Romulan and they're getting him to come out of unconsciousness, like Jaban just like literally is about to like crack him and kill him in the neck, and she goes, we're not like that anymore.
Oh, right.
And then she sprays him in the face with a fucking water sprayer.
Yeah,
like we're going from one extreme to the complete opposite there, which is an interesting thing for, I don't know why it's interesting. It's just an interesting duality that
like I said earlier, your training never quite leaves you.
Right, like he's ready to
and that's what Tal Shiar would have done.
Exactly, like he's like, there's more coming, like he'll send more if we don't like ace his ass, and she's like, we're not like them anymore, like, and then sprays him in the face with like you'd spray maybe spray an animal in the face, like a bad dog or something, you know what I mean, to wake him up. And that's when they start questioning, and then we get this back and forth, like Ramda with Soji, who are you? Are you the one that's alive, or the one that are you the one that's supposed to be alive, or the one that's supposed to be dead? And
I love that you got her with the Princess Leia shooting face. Oh yeah,
it was awesome. I was like, I gotta clip that for sure. Some of these clips I could have done a little better. Some of them are pretty good.
This one's pretty great.
This was pretty good. So yeah, we get that, and then this is where, this is the particular scene. She says here,
she says, destroyer.
You're the destroyer, and then it cuts right to him, and she's the destroyer, and blah, 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 and it's like, okay, whoa, what's going on here? Like, who is this chick? And then after this, on the Borg cube, after she disarms her, all of the disordered Romulans are, giving her, the eye.
Yeah, stink eye.
They're all, somehow, connected still, and maybe
or they all know the story of the destroyer. So going back, Romulans don't trust synths. So is this some sort of prophecy for them that there's going to be sisters? One's going to die. The one that lives is going to be the destroyer. They're on the news cards. This is all kind of starting to come around now, and that's why I guess Romulans don't trust synths. But how do they know all this?
Right.
How do they know?
It's
a Romulan prophecy.
Indeed. It's a very interesting thing
prophecy
to think of.
The Romulans.
Ramalamans. Shamalama ding dong. So the next scene after this whole back and forth happens with the destroyer thing, we get Narek and his sister Rizzo finally for the first time. Now, I'm not sure if she's beamed to him at this point or teleported or is a holograph, because she just is there at the beginning of the scene.
She said she was coming at the end of the last episode.
And she's also looking mighty Romulan now.
He makes comment. He's like, glad to see you looking like your old self,
because she's not donning the human ears and all this other stuff, trying to fit in and whatnot. So they're talking about the approach. Yeah, they're talking about yeah, they're talking about the approach and how her approach basically failed, which we can only assume is the approach of them basically assassinating bitches.
Well, they wanted to grab her, and she ended up get hurted.
Yeah, she ended up beating the shit out of all the
And then
Romulans
dead.
and then dead.
Yeah.
Basically.
Which didn't do anybody any good.
Yep. Did nobody no good. Which basically exposed everything for them. Which is what is kicking all of this off, essentially. Now, the important thing here to note is the attack on Chateau Picard. Why do you think that happened? It's pretty obvious in my head. Commander O-Face and her conversation with newsroom lady, Dr. Girardi.
Yeah, to take her out.
Take basically
Picard out
like,
and stop
all right,
this
well, like
before
I
it
need
gets
to
off the
take
ground.
Picard out.
Yeah.
Although it's still not confirmed who is the one who carried out the attack, but my heavy suspicion rests with Commander O-Face.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody else, but I don't know of any other good candidate at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Clancy seems like an idiot. Clancy's like the person who basically told Picard, like, go fuck yourself when he asked
no,
for
it's
a
definitely
ship.
not her.
And she then talked to Commander O and was like, yeah, he was just here, like, pretty sure he's not going to go do anything. And then Commander O had her conversation with Rizzo after that and was like, we need to make sure we don't mess this up again. So I don't think it's Clancy. She's too much of an idiot in regard to, like, what's actually happening. They also make mention in this episode that, like, this sort of shit couldn't be happening without somebody high up in Starfleet
knowing about it, putting a stamp on it.
And putting the stamp on it as well, too. It's well known now at this point that Starfleet didn't want to save the Romulans.
I'm going to go take care of that.
That's fine. Go ahead, dude. So it's well known at this point that Starfleet didn't want to save the Romulans, or there were a lot of people in Starfleet that didn't want to save the Romulans, and some of those folks, it's suggested, may have done something so drastic as a synth takeover to try and cover stuff up. And now this whole thing is being exposed 20 years later because of this girl, Daj, and her sister, Soji, who are essentially human synths. So yeah, that's essentially like what's, and with this particular scene here, like you've got the brother Narek and the sister Rizzo, and they're talking about the approach. And it's clear now that, like, if you didn't get the villainous vibe from this dude Narek when you saw him in the first episode, like, they did a really good, like, oh, I'm coming in with my robe, my Romulan robe on, and coming through the smoke into this Borg cube, all dark and dreary, and the guy's a villain, and it's very clear, like, he's trying to manipulate Soji in some form or fashion, to try and maybe find out what it is she knows, or, like, I'm not really sure what he's after, to, like, capture her, maybe, because I don't think they wanted to kill Daj. I think they wanted to essentially capture her, try and extract information from her. But that, like Grant had said, went awry in the first episode when they tried to capture her and she activated and she ended up killing all of them. So this approach that Narek is taking is a slow approach. He's trying to get into her head. He's trying to play psychological games. And Rizzo's not having any of this, and that's essentially what they're talking about in this particular scene, and giving kind of each other crap about how each one of them goes about this. So that's this scene. It's just kind of one of those ominous scenes where it's like, okay, like sister had this plan and it kind of failed. Now brother is kind of going over and playing the psychological mind games with Soji. So
did you talk about the sleepy scene? That happened yet?
No, I've not talked about that. You're welcome to, because this is the last scene in particular that we need to talk about.
The sleepy scene?
No, the one that I have up with him.
Isn't that the end of the episode?
It is. Okay.
When does the sleepy scene happen?
The sleepy scene happened a while ago. We touched on that, I thought.
I don't think so. I don't think we mentioned it.
Maybe we did. Oh, no, we didn't, actually. So, yeah, there's a scene. I apologize about this, Panda Fam. So there's a scene that happens pretty much right after the whole, this whole interaction where Soji goes back into her room and she calls her mom.
Yeah. Yeah, her mom.
On the communicator, like, right away and asks about Daj.
Yeah.
And you can...
Yeah, because, like, she said, did she live, or, like, are you the one that lives or the one that dies? And she's like, hey, Mom, how's Daj? The mom lies to her. She's like...
Straight up.
Oh, she is just fine. I talked to her today.
She wants to get
adopting
a puppy,
blah,
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 blah.
this and that. And then, like, as this is happening, Soji is like,
Can't
and then
stay
passes
awake.
out.
Can't stay awake.
Passes out.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Romulan brother, door opens. Standing there looking all sultry, like, hey. And he walks in and he's like,
This is the scene that happens after that.
I
It's
know
the
we
scene we're
don't
talking
talk
about.
at all about anything, ever. But I'm falling in love.
Pretty much.
and then Soji's like, oh, okay.
Okay. I mean, I think this is to show that she is more human. She's
More human
than human. More human than human. Yeah, but I think it's to show, like, the fact that she actually has... Like, Data never had feelings like this. Like,
Well, he got his motion chip put in the movies.
fair point. But, like, she came like this. Like, this is how she
Was made.
was made.
Mhm.
Now, what I'd like you to do at, like, for this particular part is, because you had pointed out to me the whole episode Inheritance. from
Inheritance,
TNG.
yeah, in TNG. So this is not. I'm shocked that there hasn't been more discussion on
I'm
this
gonna
on the
let you talk
interwebs that
about
I've
this
seen.
because I'm gonna go get another beer.
Grab me one, too, please.
Sure thing, buddy.
Yeah. So I'm very surprised that not more has been made of this. So, as far as the flesh and blood androids not knowing that they're androids, granted, this was a Soong type android, but there's an episode called Inheritance where Data meets his mother. She claims to be Noonien Soong's wife. Data is essentially mother. Noonien Soong was the scientist who created Data. He says he has no recollection of her whatsoever. As it turns out, she was made by Soong also and is a Soong type android and was designed to expire after a certain period of time. So Picard knows that flesh and blood type androids are possible and were possible 60 years ago when this Soong type android was made on Omicron Theta. So I don't know why Picard wasn't thinking about that. I also don't know why I hadn't thought of that to this point. So there's that aspect of it, and the fact that flesh and blood android Picard has encountered, and then two, on top of that, you've got Daj and Soji, who are only 3 years old. They've got an entire lifetime's worth of memories programmed into them. It was the same way with Data's mother in Inheritance. She had an entire lifetime's worth of memories, but most of them, in fact all of them, prior to her creation in Omicron Theta, were fake. They were implanted by Noonien Soong to make it seem like, I'm a real boy, or in her case, a real girl. So, just kind of interesting things that haven't been mentioned or haven't been brought up. So, fascinating things.
Indeed.
Your timing was perfect. I just finished.
Perfection.
I even pulled the name of the planet that Data was created on right out of my ass.
What planet was that again?
Omicron Theta.
Damn, nice job, buddy. Cheers to that, man.
What is this, left-hand milk stout?
Yes.
Apple juice?
Yes.
Chocolate milk? It's very good.
It's quite delicious, yes. It's quite good chocolate milky. Quite good chalky milky bubs. Anyway, so yeah, we get after that we get the scene with the brother and the sister outside the room, and we're figuring out, like, what is it about that call with her mom?
Yeah, why'd she
pass out? Like,
why is the mom lying to her? Why did the mom lie to, or like know that Daj was with Picard? And then shortly thereafter there was an attempt on both of their lives. So this mom is clearly nefarious.
Yeah. I wonder if it's like O-Face using some sort of like hologram or something. Because she sounds kind of like her a little bit.
She does, but also, like, why did she, like, so O-Face knows these ladies exist, these girls.
Right.
But they both have memories of this being their mother for their entire life.
Right, right.
So, WTF, mate? Like, why is the person who's programmed to be their mother in their memory acting in such a manner?
Because I mean, obviously, because she's not their mom. Like,
well, yeah, but why would Maddox or whoever created them make this person their mother in their memories?
And this is why Maddox is our MacGuffin. Because what you'll find here in the next scene after this, and I got this picture because it's badass, but in this entire scene, what happens after the meeting with the brother and the sister, after brother is talking to Soji and like, I love you. And again, I was mentioning while you were gone, like, if you guys haven't figured out that this guy Narek is fucking evil or villainous, like, by the way that he entered into... I've got to, like, again, I go back to the old, like, my old James Bond class in college. Like, you want to talk about, like, archetypal villains. Like, Narek looks like... He doesn't look like, in the face, like a villain, but, like, his mannerisms and his walk and the way he enters and exits places are very... like villainous, especially his entrance in the first episode when he's coming through the smoke with his Romulan cloak on, and he's like, it's in the like dark, like
any cloaks are in dark.
Yeah,
cloak and dagger.
Basically, Mr. Cloud says, "What's this?"
This is Star Trek review.
This is Star Trek Picard episode 3 review, man. Welcome in. Oh, show review. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, face show review.
Oh, face. I see what you're doing there. Yeah, your lady was in here a little bit earlier, Mr. Clouds.
We said hello. She said hello.
She's
back.
the one that prompted us on the shocker. That, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So. Yes.
We owe her a debt of gratitude.
We do
for tying a nice little bow on our show here.
We did actually. We do. But anyway, so. We get the scene where newsroom lady is back in the chateau with Picard, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm coming with you. You're a badass. I just killed a dude for you." And like this whole time, like the communicator's on because Rios has messaged them, and he's like, "Time to go, boy." And he's like, "What? It's time to go, man. Like it's about to get hot." And Picard's like, "It's already hot, man." And he's like, "No, hotter."
Yeah.
Like, we got to
get up out of here.
Go, man. We gotta go. So this is like at this point in the episode, and it's unfortunately it's right at the end, but at this point in the episode, this is when for me personally, I started feeling like, oh, yeah, here we go, yes. So like they beam aboard, him and the doctor, Dr. Girardi, and Rafi's there, and Picard's like, oh,
I knew it. Sources, you say. Sources tell you it's getting hot.
Sources tell you it's getting hot in my chateau. I see.
And then we whip it right back around to Star Wars, and Rafi's like, "Listen, I don't care about you or your rebellion. I expect to be paid and handsomely, and when this is over, I'm out of here."
I'm out of here. Basically saying once she gets to... She's like, "We're going to Free Cloud. Like, I need to hitch a ride."
Yeah.
And we need to go to Free Cloud.
Bullshit.
Yeah. Bullshit.
Bullshit's on thick.
So we got Han Solo Rios and Han Solo Rafi.
Yeah, this combination.
Han Rafi and Han Rios.
Yeah.
All right, rock and roll. So yeah, we've got these two characters. He says, "Oh,
Omar Harafi."
He says, "I can imagine him with a goatee, shades, and a hat. You know where I'm going." Oh, wait, who's that? Who you meant? Who are you talking about? Shades and a goatee and a hat. Oh, I haven't seen the show. Her brother is a huge fan of the show and series. Nice. He should tune in one of these days. We do these every Thursday until the show is done, so...
We've got 7 more.
We've got 7 more of these episodes to do.
Exciting.
Very exciting. Especially after the end of this episode, where we're basically finding out... And this is why... This is the stamp that puts... This is the MacGuffin stamp on Maddox, because Maddox is in Free Cloud, and we need to go to Free Cloud, and you're taking me whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And you know, Girardi's kind of taken aback by who this person is, and Rafi's like, "Who the hell is this?" And he's like Agnes Girardi, and she's like, "You're gonna let someone with the name, like, basically like someone with the name of Agnes come on your damn like top secret mission, no security check, no background," and he's like, "She's the top like specialist in synth technology at the Daystrom Institute." So
also we're looking after androids here, so she's gonna know what we're looking for.
Star Wars all the way. Well, we're making Star Wars connections for sure. Rafi plus Rios fusion equals Rafios. Rafios, yeah, my brother is a Trekkie, the bald guy. Oh, like he could use a goatee, a hat, and some shades. Yes. Star Wars all the way. Sorry, I lack knowledge in Star Trek. Hello, Melly, says Mr. Clouds. That's there. That's his lady.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Rafios, yes. That would be an awesome fusion between Rafi and Rios.
And
Their hair would be glorious
I was just
too.
gonna. Well, yeah, it'd be a black and red.
Look at
It'd be a black and red mohawk.
Let me see if I can get this.
And then
back
they'd be
here.
like,
Hold on. Look at
Rafios, Rafios.
Let me see if I can pull up the picture here. Hold on. So that would be like her hair.
Yeah, except it's crazier later.
Except it's crazier later. Let me see if I can get a good.
Yeah,
there it is.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
the picture. And let me see if I can get Rios's hair, like his glorious ass hair in here. There it is. You can kind of see it in there, like his full, thick mane that he's got there. So Rafios would have some glorious hair, man, for sure. But anyway,
Rafios.
this is essentially the end of the episode, where we're at here.
I don't know. I'm kind of living in this Hook moment right now.
In this Hook moment. Oh, Rufio. Oh my god. And I'll bring it back to this. This is essentially the very last scene that we get, which goosebumps galore, Panda Fam. He, like, literally they all sit down, Rafi, I almost called him Rafios.
Yeah.
Rio sits down in the captain's chair. Then he's like, dude, can we
just looks up at him.
Can we go already, please? And like Picard's like, yeah, sure, let's get the hell out of here. Hey, Dennis, thanks for the like and the share. What's up, buddy? Shut it, JK, I love you too, says Mr. Clouds. Heisenberg reference, sorry, creeper. Oh my god, you guys are nuts, man.
You're goddamn right.
You're goddamn, I'm the one who knocks. Anyway, so they all sit down after Rios is like, we need to get out of here. Can we go, please? And Picard's like, yeah, ushers them to their seats. And they all sit down, and he stands next to Rios on his left side, and Rios kind of just looks up at him in that sweet pan in to close up of what we got here in the top right corner, and it just ends with him saying, engage. And that awesome score outro, the original TNG music.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much where we end this episode. And holy shit, I'm jazzed.
I'm jazzed. God. Next episode's going to be phenomenal.
And the previews.
Yeah, the previews were cool.
So in the previews for the next episode, we can kind of touch on this a little bit. It looks like they go to some Romulan outpost somewhere.
Yeah, probably Free Cloud.
Probably Free Cloud.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of...
Or they get marooned somewhere along the way.
Something. Or they need to stop to resupply, maybe, as simple as that. But they stop, and there's a lot of...
Some Romulans.
There's a lot of Ramalama ding-dongs over there.
You're going to make me spit this beer everywhere.
There's a lot of Romulans there, and they don't seem too happy with Picard. Like, they know who he is. There's a moment in the preview where one guy's like, we didn't ask for something, just like we didn't ask for your help or whatever. Like, and then they fence. They fence.
Yeah, Picard, of course.
They fence.
An avid fencer. They make reference to this, and you see it many times throughout TNG. And then there's the episode where he's like falling in love, and he's like, you should fence with me, number one. Riker's like, what? Like, oh, I'm not very good at it, sir. And he's like, it doesn't matter if you're good at it. It matters if you enjoy it.
Too much talking, bitch. Hey, Daniela, what's going on? How you doing?
Ooh, sexy lady on the stream.
Ooh. Yeah,
that's my fiance.
Yes, it's Grant's fiance. She's entered the stream. Daniela has entered the game. Anyway, so in the preview, you get him with he's fencing with somebody, and the one thing that I noticed was the office or the room or whatever, his study that he's at on this planet. I would assume it's on a different planet, but this study that he's at on this planet looks very, very, very similar to the same study that you see in the trailer when 7 of 9 eventually makes her entrance into the series.
And so that's good. So maybe we'll start seeing some of these legacy characters.
Like Riker, Troy, 7 of 9.
At some point, now that we're halfway into the season here, and they've been teasing it since before it dropped. I wish, and I mentioned this earlier as you were watching it, I wish they would have kept this under their hat.
Oh, right.
Although, I don't know, maybe they thought that if they did that, it would be seen as too much fan service, so that's why they let the cat out of the bag. And then you start to get real meta in like what they release on trailers and whatnot, and I'm not sure that we even need to go that route, but I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, if you have a thought on it, sure.
Like I said, I mean, I could talk myself in circles, and it's all supposition anyway, but I just wish they would have kept it under their hat. But then some people would have been like, well, that's just fan service.
I think at this point, people who don't like the show don't like it because it's not the next generation, and the people who do like it, are gonna like it
because it's a good show.
Because it's a good show
With characters that we like.
With good
and new characters.
Like I said, the only issue that I had from this show was the very, very quickly glazed over and seemed like very lazily written interaction with him and Rafi at the beginning.
Yeah, it's quick and hasty, but they don't want to spend too much time with exposition, which I get too. So they're kind of between a rock and a hard place on that.
Not to mention, they can also fill this in because she's with them now. Like, they can have moments on the ship in the next few episodes.
Yeah, and the flashback
scenes
and
or whatever,
everything like that. So who knows?
Daniel says,
and then there's also
shopping.
there's the comics as well that kind of fill that in a little bit.
Right.
But the comics are supposed to stand alone. This is supposed to stand alone.
Well, I don't know if you mentioned it on the actual podcast yet or not, but you mentioned how like he takes in these Tal Shiar, who are just like random people that he meets while he's
they help him like break out of
the prison
when he's on the
but
Romulan prison in episode 2.
This number one of his, like, he doesn't talk to for 20 years. Like, it just doesn't seem.
They make some leaps.
There's some.
It's not perfect, but I enjoy it.
Well, sure. And again, the end of it is very, very, very much like, all right, here we go. Like, engage. Like, I think the whole like him saying him saying engage at the end of this episode is like multiple like layered meanings. Like, he's back. He's Picard. He's the captain of the ship. But I think it also means that the season is we're engaging now in the season. Like, it's time to go. Like, let's go.
I'm in on it.
Let's go.
Sign me up.
So yeah,
I want to be a part of the crew.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm ready to rock and roll. So, at this point, you know, I'm very happy with the show, where it's going, the direction it's going. I think they've done a good job of detailing things that have happened in the last 20 years that we needed to know about, but not in a super heavy-handed way, I guess.
Yeah, and it's been 1 week since you looked at me. No, it's been
hey,
it's been relatively well done. And if our major gripe is that there's one character relationship that we feel is underdeveloped, then that's pretty damn good.
Sure. It's entertaining. It's not your father's The Next Generation. It's got...
Nor should it be, though.
Nor should it be. It's got a nice thread that connects all these episodes. It's one episode to the next. And it's unfolding very well so far. I'm curious to see where the next few episodes take us. Curious to see if there's going to be like a mid-season sort of like rising... Like, I don't even want to call it a climax, but just
anti-climax.
Yeah, anti-climax or rising action, and then we get some. I'm guessing this is how it's gonna go. Episode 4 and 5 are gonna be badass. Episode 6 and 7 are gonna be more of like, I don't want to say exposition, but we're not gonna get as much like badassery in way of like action or like.
Yeah, you can't have it up here the whole time.
Right. I think 6 and 7 are gonna be kind of that like. Catch your breath moment after episode 4 and 5. At least is what I'm hoping it happens anyway. And then 8, 9, and 10. Until, you know, and I think that's how it's going to go.
Then seasons 2 and 3.
Yeah. 2 for sure. 3, I don't know that we're 100% confirmed on yet.
We haven't 100% confirmed on it, but from what I understand, this was written for 3 seasons, which is what I have been told.
Dennis says, so I guess my mic that my PS4 came with broke, so I can hear but can't talk until I get something new. That's why you couldn't hear me last night. Oh, that makes sense. I was wondering why we were like having a tough time hearing you last night, buddy. But anyway, that is essentially the end of this particular episode.
Tanner.
What's up, Tanner? How's it going, buddy? Good to see you, man. You're coming in right at the very end of our Picard episode 3. Season 1 review here. We do these every Thursday, me and my buddy Grant here.
Did we hear what?
What?
He asked if we heard.
Did we hear what? Tell us. You have the stage for a few minutes here.
Panda news. We were getting ready to wrap this thing up, and now we gotta figure out what the news is.
Yeah, what's the news?
But not like the Romulan kind of news.
No, we don't wanna
We don't want to see.
We don't want to kill.
We don't want to
Sis.
see the sisters.
Destroyer. The destroyer. Destroyer's here. That was really an interesting part, though. Like I was like, okay, what is she the destroyer of? Like something in Romulan culture, apparently.
Oh, we can tie this back to the Heisenberg reference.
Go ahead.
I have become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Does he say that in that show?
No, he doesn't. The real Heisenberg says it
Oh, really?
when he tests the A-bomb.
Oh, that Heisenberg reference.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Interesting reference.
Danny, you're leaving us hanging here.
You're leaving us hanging, Tanner. What's up? What's going on, man?
Typing up something long, maybe.
Perhaps. We'll give
Last time somebody said something like this on stream, Kobe Bryant died, so...
Yeah, well, I mean, that was JB, so...
Yeah.
And he was like, did you hear that Kobe Bryant died? And I was like, what? What the hell?
Like, no,
But anyway,
while
while Tanner's typing his stuff up, I want to take a moment to thank you all for coming on out. Again, thank my... I don't want to call you a special guest at this point. You're just my
co-host.
You're my co-host here on this show. My co-host Grant for coming in on another Thursday.
Of course, thanks to you for having me.
Of course. Next week will be
beverages and pizza and things of that sort.
Absolutely. Cheers, my friend. Next week will be a little bit different format.
Oh my God, I guess I like this.
Yeah, it's delicious, man. It's like
I looked, I was like, oh no.
It's like dangerously delicious. Dangerously cheesy. He goes, did you hear there's a rumor going around that Gearbox Software and 2K announced a live-action Borderlands movie series?
Oh, interesting.
Tanner, I need to see links to this, man. You had messaged me about crossplay being something in March, and I never got that link from you, buddy. I never got it in my email. So until it's confirmed by some link or multiple news sources, it's just rumor, my friend. Just rumor and conjecture. But I appreciate the information, man. That'd be... I don't know that I would go see that, personally.
Who would you cast to play Handsome Jack?
Probably Jim Carrey. Probably Jim Carrey.
I like that.
A younger Jim Carrey would have been good for that role. Maybe an older Jim Carrey would be too.
Who's a younger Jim Carrey? Johnny Depp?
Maybe. I think Johnny Depp and Jim Carrey are around the same age, honestly.
Yeah, but Johnny Depp plays younger.
True.
He doesn't have like the John Brown beard going on.
Gotcha. Yeah, Tanner, if you emailed me the links, man. Like I said, I never got
Moxie? What about Moxie?
Oh.
I mean, Margot Robbie is the easy answer, but
I was just thinking that too. I don't even know. Megan Fox?
Ooh, is she like...
Maybe.
Has she like fully made the transition to Alien with her plastic surgery? Or is she still
Olivia
okay?
Wilde, maybe?
Ooh, I could get behind that.
Maybe. I don't know. Be interesting. Dwayne Johnson would be good for Roland. What are you talking about? Dwayne Johnson would be good for Brick, man. Get out of here with that. Roland would be well served by being played by like a Wesley Snipes or like maybe a Denzel Washington.
Washington's getting a little long in the tooth there too.
Yeah, he is. Anne Hathaway for Tannis. That'd be a good one, Anne Hathaway for Tannis, absolutely.
The map room at Tannis?
No, it's the scientist lady or whatever. Yeah, she would be a good Tannis. She's got the quirkiness to go with her. What about Lilith?
Tannis.
What about Lilith? What about Lilith? Who would be a good Lilith? She's the siren or whatever with the red hair. I don't know. These are good things to think on. But yeah, Tanner, go ahead and send me the links to those, man. And I think at this point here, Panda Fam, we are going to go ahead and call this review a wrap. This is Tambourine Panda and your boy Grant Sabo coming at you tonight.
Champish one.
Thursday, the champish one, as we like to call him.
My gamer tag.
This is gamer tag, yes it is. Kelly Clarkson for Ellie.
Kelly Clarkson.
Kelly Clarkson. I don't know that anybody could have feasibly. How about Mama June for Ellie, for God's sakes? Pre-weight loss. Good lord. That's Honey Boo Boo's mom.
Yeah, I know who that is.
Mama June maybe could play a good Ellie. Nicholas,
Kelly Clarkson, that's me, bro.
All right, that is me. Tamisha, thank you for the share. Nicholas, thank you for the like. We're going to go ahead and sign on off here, Panda Fan, but I want to thank you again for coming on to the Picard review. This is episode 3. We'll be back at you next week with episode 4. Again, the format will be a little bit different. My buddy's gonna be in Portland, so I'll be porting him into the stream via webcam and everything, like we did on the first.
Hopefully, my internet's not shitty.
Hopefully, he doesn't have shitty hotel internet like he did the first time.
I might pay for it.
Yeah, that might be a good idea, just so we have
Got to have a good stream.
No issues, yeah, and people can hear you and stuff. But anyway,
maybe I'll flirt with the concierge and see if they'll give it to me.
There you go, man.
It usually works.
All right, obviously nobody else is doing Star Trek.
Watch the concierge be a big burly dude named like Chet.
Right. No one else is doing Picard reviews right now, so I'm gonna send you to someone who's playing some Apex Legends. You guys have been great hanging out, chilling with us through these reviews.
Alyssa Milano for Lilith.
That'd be an interesting, maybe. I don't know. We can think about it. Anyway, Panda Fam, I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. I will be back at you guys tomorrow morning and tomorrow night. I've got a collaboration scheduled with another streamer on some...
Oh, who's it going to be? It's going to be awesome.
On some Apex. I got to double check the name. It's like Shadow X Hunter. Something is the name. I got to check. I've got it on my schedule.
Did you watch Arrow?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Season 2. Do you know who Manu Bennett is?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So Manu Bennett plays...
Shadow.
Deathstroke.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, and then like there was his girlfriend on the island, and it was like Asian hottie, named Shadow, but like all the time he's like, oh, hello Shadow. So whenever I hear Shadow, I'm like, Shadow, Manu Bennett.
Manu Bennett. All right, guys, go enjoy Taxman clapping some cheeks in Apex. We'll be back at you again tomorrow with some more gaming and fun stuff. Peace out, pandas.